Hello there, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. I am running a little bit behind on these. There has been a series of unfortunate events that has thrown my video making schedule into pretty much havoc over the last month. Hopefully that is coming to an end. But anyway, I am changing the format on the monthlies where I was looking at each week in a separate time frame. I was starting to run into some redundant energies like that, so I decided that I'm just going to break the month down into 2 segments instead of 4 or 5, depending. So we're just going to be looking at 2 segments this time. The first segment is going to be January the 3rd through the 16th, since my December readings went through January 2nd. And then the next segment will be January 17th through the end of the month. So the first segment we're looking at is January 3rd through the 16th. Those of you who are cross watchers, you are always welcome to be here, but you should know that on this channel, energies are not reversible. And so whatever you're seeing here is for Sagittarius and about Sagittarius. If you want to see information for and about you, then you want to check your sun sign, your rising sign, or your moon sign, or whatever combination thereof works best for you. Okay, so welcome to be here. Just know that this is for and about Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius, we have your cards on the table. Let's take a peek at what you have for your environment during the time frame from the 3rd through the 16th. And keep in mind, environment can be any place where you have energy or effort invested. What we have showing up here is that when we're looking at your environment, you are probably in a different environment than usual, at least for part of this time frame. And it looks to me like you are thinking about options about how you can improve your time in that environment, because it looks to me like this different environment is not something that you're particularly happy about once you get there. So looking at ways that you can make that environment something that is better for you is something I see going on there. Now, next thing that we're looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings, Sagittarius. And so it looks to me like, this looks to me like it's coming up in the area of relationships. And of course, I want to be clear with relationships. This could be romantic, but it doesn't have to be. We have a lot of different types of relationships in our lives. So when I'm looking at relationships, it looks like in your subconscious leanings, there's something that you are feeling pretty successful in a relationship. You're feeling like it's in a really good place. You're also looking at, in your subconscious leanings, the idea of letting somebody know how much you actually care about them. And I think that this is probably more than one somebody. This is, multiple people that you're wanting to let them know how much you care about them. And I think that you are feeling like if you let these people know how much you care about them, then that's something that is really good for you to do in these relationships, and that this will bring the relationships into a good and more stable place than maybe where they have been. All right? So the next thing that we're looking at, Sagittarius, has to do with, first of all, learning style, and then we'll look at communication style. But for learning style, what am I seeing here? Definitely you're paying a lot of attention to the details as you're learning during this time frame. It looks to me like there's somebody in your sphere of influence that you're paying a lot of attention to what makes them happy. You're learning how to make them happy. What else are we learning here? I think you're also learning a lot about yourself as we look at this time frame. And all of this is in great detail, or in increment, can't say the word. Now I can't even think of the word, but tiny little details. The word for tiny that I was going to use was different. But anyway, So down to the tiniest little detail, I think you're learning a lot about yourself, especially in regards to what really takes the energy out of you, what takes the air out of your sails. You're learning a lot about this right now. Doesn't make me too happy to see you learning about this, because this probably means you're experiencing the sense of having the energy taken out of your sails to learn about it in such great detail. But that's what's showing up here. And the other thing that I think you're learning about has to do with the idea of money and accumulating money or accumulating financial goods. There's another phrase I can't think of. But basically, accumulating, what do they call that when they add up all of everything on your asset sheets and subtract everything off of all of your liability sheets? Net value, your net worth. Looks to me like you are learning about improving your net worth. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's look at communication style during this particular time frame. I think that you are definitely showing off your intelligence in your communication style during this time frame. So you're passing along some ideas that really are complicated ideas, not just simple things. And I feel like a lot of you are showing off your skills in this way, especially when it comes to work, or if you do volunteer, at a community level, something like that. Okay. Also, as far as communication style, there is a little bit of, I'm just going to say it, Sagittarius. You're coming off a little bit as like royalty, like, like you're just assuming people are going to do certain things for you. And that's showing in your communication style. So, I have this agreement with Sacred Spirit that I say what comes up in the readings. If you don't like it, that's the whole point of getting a reading ahead of time. You can change up this energy into something that you like better. If you're perfectly happy with it, then leave it alone, But definitely there is this energy of sort of expecting, of a little bit of entitlement, just expecting people to do things for you automatically. And so with that kind of communication style, you may be forgetting those thank yous or I appreciate what you've done type of messages that you would normally say to people or send to people. And so you want to just be aware of that, stay on top of it. And then also as far as communication style, I think you are communicating about money, and I feel like part of your communication style is in paying money. There's something about in sending money somewhere or paying money to somebody that communicates your interest in that person or that cause, and communicates your support for that person or that cause. So there is a little bit here, Sagittarius, of you using money to communicate something to somebody by supporting them financially in some way or other. All right, so that is learning and communication style. Let's look next at work. Excuse me while I wet my whistle. All right, Sagittarius. Looks to me like work is not a very happiness-making scene for you at this particular point in time. It looks to me like if you had a job, you may be out of a job. If you had contracts, you may have lost a significant contract. There is definitely something here of somebody that you were working with in some way or another that you guys are not on the same page anymore. And so this, you're not working towards the same goals like you used to. I feel like whenever this occurs, whether it occurred before this time frame or whether it's occurring right now in this time frame, I think that you are, I don't know that it necessarily takes you by surprise, but I do feel like it makes you feel a little bit despondent about the idea of replacing either this contract or this employee position or whatever that is. And I also feel like the idea that you're not working anymore, or at least don't have this particular contract, makes you feel really aggravated and agitated and frustrated and angry. Okay, so work is not the prettiest sight during this time frame. I don't think we even need to go into specifics on that. I think most of you are going to recognize how that might play out. All right. Let's look at that part of your personality, which is being grown or expanded as you come through this particular time frame. Here's what I like, especially after seeing what just happened at work. During this particular time frame, you are feeling like you have the means, like you have the resources that you need to do the things that you need. Good for you, because that means you have some kind of cushion or you have some kind of other work. Maybe you're doing something on the side. I'm liking that. That's a relief to me as a reader to see this for you, Sagittarius. Tell you the truth, I'm going to say from these cards, I think that whenever this came up with the employer or with the contract, where you were released from that contract or from that employment situation, I think this actually has allowed you to appreciate the things that you have set back, that you have stashed, that the skills even that you have that maybe you didn't have time to utilize or work with before. I do feel like your attitude as you go through this is one that, you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like moving forward. You don't feel like utilizing these skills and abilities that you have that you weren't able to before. So I think that you have this dichotomy of having everything that you need, but at the same time not having the energy to move forward with it because of where your mind space is, where your head space is. So obviously, this could even be like, say that you're collecting unemployment, and so you feel like you have enough coming in through unemployment that you don't necessarily need to go find a new job, or you don't necessarily need to get that, sideline business up and running. Could be something like that coming in here, but definitely, yeah, I think that the idea that you have all the resources that you need is sort of hampering your growth in building something new or connecting with something good. All right, let's look at those things that you stand for during this particular time frame. And then after that, we'll look at how someone perceives you. So when I'm looking at something that you stand for, what I'm looking at basically is something that is either a decision, it's a person, it's a situation that you're somehow involved with and defending, and you're defending it because somebody has come to you and they want an explanation, or they may even be confronting you and you have to literally defend this situation or this person or whatever. So we're going to look at what that is, and then we're going to look at how that person feels about you after you've had this conversation, after they've confronted you or came to you for an explanation. So, yeah. So it looks like you were actually, and I feel like this is before the whole work situation that we saw, that you were actually taking a lot of inspired action around doing something on your own, something on the side probably for most of you. And I think that has brought you a certain amount of comfort, a certain amount of ease financially. However, even though it has done that, it's not manifested what you exactly wanted it to manifest. And I feel like for some of you, what it hasn't manifested that you thought it would is that sense of fulfillment, that sense of, well, I'm really doing something that matters here. You're not feeling necessarily like you're doing something that matters whenever you're doing this thing that actually makes you more independent and self-sufficient, especially as far as financially. And so I think, somebody has had some kind of questions about this. Maybe that's part of why you don't have the energy to move forward, like we saw on the work situation before. You didn't really have any energy to do anything other than be secure in those resources. And so yeah. And so this is something that you're explaining to somebody. You're explaining to them that, yeah, I could do that, but it doesn't make me feel very fulfilled. I would rather do things that make me feel fulfilled and bring me happiness. How this other person sees you after you've had this communication. It's interesting. They see you as somebody who is doing something that had been put on the back burner, that you're focusing on that more now. So this is something that you used to do before. They're seeing you as doing that again. And they're seeing that as a betrayal, really, of yourself, and a betrayal of the idea of being financially independent. So isn't that interesting? Because they're looking at this as almost the opposite of you. So you're saying, look, I was taking action. I was self-sufficient. I had plenty of money and all that good stuff, but it wasn't what I want. It didn't make me feel fulfilled. This person, I think this person sees you as going back to this thing, whatever this is, that doesn't make you feel fulfilled, and betraying yourself in doing so. And also that the money won't be in it if you go back to it. That's what this person has taken away from this. And maybe that's true. I don't know. I think that, I think I want to look at this a little bit more. I want to dig into this situation. So this is going to be what our advanced reading is about, because I'm nosy and inquiring minds want to know. So if you guys are interested in checking out the more specific breakdown of that in the advanced reading, there will be a link down below the video that you can do that. But for right now, I do want to finish up the spread that we have in front of us on this time frame that you're moving through here. Okay, so Sagittarius. We're looking at your flex point next. And the flex point has to do with those things that sort of change the direction, change your trajectory as you're moving through life, because they change your perception. So you have a lesson or experience. That's where the perception is going to change. And then we're going to look at what's happening as you're incorporating that lesson or experience into your life. And then we'll round it off with where we see you at the end of this particular time frame. But for right now, looking at the lesson or experience, it looks to me like you have the time to look at how you're impacting your sphere of influence. What kind of impression are you making on them? What are you doing that has a positive influence on them in some way? And as you're looking at this, I feel like you are making some adjustments about how you impact your sphere of influence. So I think that you are moving away from some of the more negative impacts that you were having before. And I think that instead of sitting in a negative, a negative poor me type of energy, I think you are, as you're moving away from this old thing, as you're moving away from that kind of mindset, I think you're looking at the opportunities around you and you're moving forward with those opportunities. So you're finding better ways to impact the people around you and moving away from those things that you see as making more of a negative impact than a positive impact. Very noble lesson or experience. What's going on as you're going through this lesson or experience? Looks to me like you are preparing to make a decision about no longer collaborating with someone. It looks like you have been collaborating with somebody for a while, and now you're realizing that by this collaboration, you're somehow negatively impacting the people in your sphere of influence. And so you are getting your things together. You're getting your ducks in a row to make that cut to where you're not collaborating with that person or with that company like you were before. Okay? And then what else is going on here is we see that, and I want to adjust my speakers so that my computer doesn't make noises like that anymore. Okay. So what we have here is you're getting really focused in where you're spending your energy. I think that you are educating yourself because there's something going on that you do not want to repeat. You don't want to go back to. So you're finding an education around how do I move forward more positively, and you're really focused on that as you move forward as well. Okay? All right, so there's that. Now let's look at where you are at the end of this particular time frame. So towards the 14th, 15th, 16th of this month. We see you letting go of some kind of old hurt or injury, pain, and forgiving somebody, or just letting bygones be bygones, even if you're not, saying I forgive you to someone. You could just be letting go of these old negative energies. And it looks to me like you're walking back to a situation that might have felt depleting to you before. You're going back to it anyway. And as you go back to this situation, I think you're going back because the payday there is better. I think that the pay is better than it was before. Or maybe I should say the payoff. Could very easily be a work situation, but this could also be a relationship where you're more appreciated than you used to be, that you're going back to. But either way, there's definitely something that you're going back to because you're letting go of old grudges or wounds or injuries and going back. And I think that you are collecting some kind of payoff as you go back. For some of you, this could be where you were actually literally injured or not feeling well, and you were able to come back and start collecting a paycheck again. That could be how that's playing out for quite a few of you, although that's not the most general, open way to read this. But it is an example of how this could be playing out. So there's that. So that covers this particular time frame, Sagittarians. What I am going to do is the expanded reading on what you're standing up for and how the other person feels about you after that, because that was a little interesting dichotomy. So I want to dig into the nitty-gritty of that a little bit, the details of that a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I'm going to make that advanced reading. You'll find the link down beneath, and then I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes. Thanks for being here. Okay, Sagittarius, so we are back, and this time we're looking at January 17th through the 31st. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the thumbs ups on this video and for sharing it with other people who may find it beneficial as well. And of course, thank you to those of you who are ordering private readings and private Reiki sessions, and those of you getting the expanded readings with the links down below. It is because of all of you guys' support that I'm able to do what I love to do for my living. So I do appreciate each and every little bit of it. Let's see what kind of energies we have coming up for you guys during this time frame. All right, Sagittarius, your cards are on the table. First thing that we are looking at is your environment, and your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. Okay, So what's the first thing that we have coming up? It looks like there's something about your environment that maybe is less than ideal, but you are coming to a point of acceptance. I think you've worked with this to try to improve it as much as you can, and now you're just accepting that this is just what it is and finding ways to work with it the way it is. There's also some kind of new start around your environment. So you could be doing some rehabbing. You could have a new job if we're talking about work environment. But there's some kind of new start around your environment. Maybe you're planting a tree. Yeah, anyway, new start around your environment. And there's also the last thing that I have when I look at your environment is that there's an element of confusion having to do with your environment right now. So there's something that is sort of unknown. I think we're actually going to break down this. This has me curious already. I try not to pick things to look at that are so early in the spread, but that has me curious. I think that's going to be our expanded reading. We're going to find out, what is it that you're coming to terms with, that you're accepting? What's the new start all about? And what is the confusion all about? There's 3 questions right there in that one set of cards that I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, and I'm a sticky beak, so we're going to find out. Next thing that we're looking at, Sagittarius, has to do with your subconscious leanings during this time frame. So it looks to me like you are hoping for and expecting some kind of good news about money or material goods. You're also working to earn money and material goods as well. And I think that you are hoping, combined with this good news and with the work that you're doing, you're hoping to pay something off or make a significant payment on something during this time frame. That's pretty cut and dry. All right, next thing that we're looking at talks to me about learning style and also communication style for you, Sagittarius. I do think that there's something that you are learning during this time frame, or maybe even from before this time frame, that you are coming to a completion with. You're coming to the point where you have all the information that you need to know to be a pro at whatever this is that you're doing. You may be getting a certificate from some kind of course or class, or this could be completely self-directed, but you feel like you've learned everything that you need to learn because you can do everything that you wanted to do with this information now. Also, as far as learning style, what do we have? It does look to me like there's something else going on in your life that you're learning about as well. However, I think that this is something where you're just really learning the basics, just what you absolutely have to know to get by, at least for right now. And then it does look like you're also learning something that is more, the word spirit keeps giving me is more decorative. So if this is arts and craftsy, I don't know. If this is decorative architecture, I don't know exactly what it is. But there is something that is more decorative or creative that you are interested in and finding out about, learning about, researching during this time frame. All right, let's look at your communication style. I think that during this time frame, at least with one person in your sphere of influence, if not with many, you are coming into a point where you're able to see through people's emotions to the bottom line. In other words, you're able to, when somebody is complaining about something around you and you're listening to their complaint, you're coming into a period, or maybe it's just getting stronger for you right now, but you're coming into a period where you can hear what they're saying, and you can also realize whether or not they're actually telling you about the root of the problem for them emotionally, or if there's something deeper that they're not actually sharing. And sometimes people aren't even aware of the something deeper in themselves to share it. So I think you're really, you're kind of cutting through all the confusion and the baloney and seeing the root cause of things that people are saying and things that people are doing around you that they are probably not themselves sharing in an open type of way. And I think you're calling them out on it, basically. That's where that's going with that communication style. Now, there is a little sense here of some of the communication that you're doing it to get attention. You're doing it to see if somebody will pay attention to you if you communicate in a certain way or do certain things and tell other people about them. And what else do we have for communication style? There is somebody in your sphere of influence, maybe even a group of somebodies, that you're very careful to be very organized in your communication. You tell them things in the order that they need to know them so that things will go smoothly because of how you've transferred information. So you're not, like if you're giving them instructions, you're not jumping around back and forth all over the place as far as, first you do this, then you do that. Oh yeah, wait, go back, before you do that, then you have to do this. You're very methodically giving them instructions. Very methodical in passing along that information. Excuse me. All right, so next thing that we're looking at here, Sagittarius, is work. What do we have for work? Work. I think when you're starting into this time frame, you're actually not very happy about work. And in fact, I'm hearing that it's quite frustrating to you. However, once we get into around the middle time of this time frame, I think that you're starting to really see your work from a different perspective. You're starting to understand things in a way that you did not understand them, and you're starting to really enjoy whatever it is that you're doing and that you consider work. And by the end of this time frame, I feel like you are kind of a natural born leader, Sagittarius. You're great at inspiring other people to do the things that would take a company forward or a project forward or whatever the case may be for you. And I think that you are naturally stepping into a leadership position just by sharing your vision and letting other people get excited about that vision as well. Alrighty. Next thing that we are looking at, Sagittarius, is that part of your character which is being grown or expanded as you go through this time frame. So, what do we have? Okay, so Sagittarius, we have a situation where there is very minimal, possibly even no communication going on between you and another person or another group of people. And it looks to me like the other set of people or the other person would really like to get communication lines open again, get things back on track with you again, to be cool with you again. And I think you're having none of it. You're actually manifesting some of the things that you want without them. And so you're really focused on something else right now. You're not that interested in getting back into something that is old and that the communication has gone stagnant on. All right, next thing that we're looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. And we're also going to look at how the other person sees you after you stand up for these things to them. Alrighty. So it looks to me like somebody has made a judgment that has impacted either one or some of your friends. And it has been a fair judgment, something that has made you happy as well as your friends happy. And it's also made you hopeful about something moving forward in the future as well. Okay? And so this is something that you've had to explain or defend to somebody else. And how they see you after this is they're kind of getting an aha moment as you're explaining this. The puzzle pieces are coming together for them. And they're seeing you as somebody who is very reserved, very much somebody who is cautious and slow moving on things. But they also see you as somebody who has all the resources that they need, regardless of that slow movement. And they also see you as somebody who is able to well, Spirit just keeps giving me this country saying, but fall in a pile of dung and come out smelling like roses. That's how they see you. Like, bad things can happen to you, and yet you can come out as if it was all good and as if it was all planned for the good. And so this is how they're seeing you right now. Alrighty, next thing that we're looking at is going to be your flex point, Sagittarius. And the flex point is where you have the lesson or experience, which generally changes your perspective around something. And then what happens as you incorporate that lesson or experience to your life. So this is usually where our trajectory changes a little bit whenever we run into this flex point. So lesson or experience as you go through this particular time frame has to do with the idea of taking responsibility for some things that have been going on. First of all, you have been feeling like you just don't have a lot of energy to move forward. And so you really haven't made any plans about moving forward. And I think you're taking responsibility for that. You're making yourself accountable for that. You're looking at this and going, I'm not really following my own plan, my own advice. It's time for me to actually take some action. So that's where your perspective is changing. You're kind of coming out of that apathetic space into a space that says, you know what, this is on me. It's up to me to make the difference. What else is going on as you incorporate that lesson into your life, Sagittarius? You are definitely becoming somebody who is bringing people together under a common, for a common cause. You are helping people set any feuding aside so that they can come together for a common cause here. And I think that as everybody comes together, you're encouraging everyone to sort of think outside the box and look for solutions that normally would not be easily seen. Okay? Now, what else is happening as you're taking responsibility for the idea that you haven't been doing much lately towards your own goals? La, da, 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 da. It looks to me like you're kind of assessing where you are and realizing that you have not completed some of the goals that you wanted to. And that has you really feeling stressed out and under the gun. And so I think that you are doing some research about how can I reach these goals? What can I do to get to the goal point more quickly? All right, so basically reevaluating what you've been doing with your time, what your goals are, what you need to do to get to your goals. And then where we see you at the end of this month. Looks to me like you're cutting out any and all distractions, even if they're distractions from the past that you have fond memories of, because you are focused on holding back, stashing money away, maybe even holding back your feelings, but stashing money away so that you can move forward into your goals and make them reality, make your dreams into a reality. So I think, to me, it seems like you just don't want to be distracted, even if the old stuff has good memories attached to it. You just don't want to be distracted right now from the mission at hand. Okay? So that's what I've got for you for this month. I am going to go ahead and do the expanded on your environment here in a minute after I sign off here. But if I don't see you there, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all the thumbs ups, the shares, and for the subscribes. Thank you also to those of you who are buying private Reiki sessions and private readings with me. I appreciate all of your support, because thanks to all that support, I'm able to do what I love to do for my living. So thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic month. And if I don't see you here for a private reading or a private Reiki session before then I will see you back here on the next video. Peace out.